It has been many years since my mother passed away in a tragic and horrible way. Ever since her death, my siblings and I have been left to navigate this cruel world on our own. Life has never been easy for us. There was no one to lean on, and no one was willing to help us either. The worst part was how my father's family completely disowned us when we sought their support. I can vividly remember the day my grandmother, my father's mother, insulted and scorned us when we went to her house. She treated us like trash, even denying us in front of many people. She swore she had never known us, and ordered us to leave the house built by our father. This was a woman we had always known as our grandmother, but on the day we needed her most, she abandoned us and treated us as if we were nothing. As if that wasn't enough, she called us a curse to her family. She claimed that since we were born, we had brought shame, pain, and misery to our father, simply because we were all girls. She threatened that she would have nothing to do with us, unless our father disowned and kicked us out of his home. All of this because my mother gave birth to daughters. It was hard to believe that in certain parts of Africa, such a toxic mindset about women still exists. And what is even more unfortunate was that, my siblings and I found ourselves in the hands of people who firmly believed that a female child was a waste. This belief grew stronger over time, and it eventually took its toll on our father. He began to mistreat us and bully our mother, a woman he once called his wife, all under the influence of his own mother. First, he lost his job. After countless failed attempts to find new work, he began blaming our mother for all his misfortunes. He said she was the source of his bad luck, and in his mind, everything that went wrong in his life was because of her. But through it all, my mother stood by him, praying for him, begging him to stop punishing her and us. But he wouldn't listen. The abuse grew worse with each passing day, and everything was happening under the sway of my father's mother, the woman we once called Grandma. At the time, we were so young that we couldn't really understand what was happening. For days, sometimes weeks, our father would leave the house without saying where he was going. And when he returned, he would beat our mother senseless, until she passed out. We were just children, helpless and unable to do anything. Each time it happened, my mother would warn us not to tell anyone. So, as children do, we obeyed her. By the time we found our voices, and tried to save her, it was too late. My mother would cry bitterly, but there was no one she could confide in. As a child, seeing her cry would make me cry too. This went on for a long time, until one evening when the beatings finally took their toll. It was one of those days when my father returned home drunk, stumbling so badly that he nearly fell into a pot of hot water in the kitchen. If I'm honest, part of me wished he had, because I hate him with all my heart. I was in my room when I heard my mother's cries. I rushed to the kitchen, and to my horror, I saw my father taking a saucepan and strike her on the head. Blood began to pour from her wound, like water flowing effortlessly from the mountains down to the valleys. I was furious. In a blind rage, I ran at him and slapped him harder than I thought was possible. I don't know where I found the courage, but I felt a sense of justice in that moment. My mother could endure the pain, but I couldn't stand by and watch him do this to her. From the look in his eyes, I knew my slap had affected him. But before I could say anything, he grabbed my arm and slapped me so hard that I collapsed immediately. When I woke up, I found myself in a hospital bed, with my maternal grandmother sitting beside me, crying.
"Mama, what happened? Where is my mother? Where is she?"
"My daughter, your mother passed away a few minutes after being brought here by some neighbors. She even died before I could return from the village when I heard the news."
The news hit me like a ton of bricks. I collapsed back onto the bed in shock. My mother was buried 2 weeks later. My father was nowhere to be found, and none of his family members showed up for the funeral. It was the saddest day of my life, a day I will never forget. I cried so bitterly, that even my tears seemed to beg me to stop. For 3 days, I couldn't eat or drink anything. I lost all appetite. Meanwhile, my grandmother was taken by the police for questioning. They wanted my father, and until they had him for investigation, she was to remain in custody. I'm not sure what happened, but just hours before her arrest, she was released. When I asked why she had been let go, I was ignored and ridiculed by the police officers. I cried that day, feeling helpless and betrayed. With a heavy heart, I returned home to console myself. We stayed in the village for a few weeks after my mother's funeral, before finally returning to the city. The night before we left, my grandmother sat us down for a serious talk.
Zoe, even though your father is alive, you are as good as orphans. You are a big girl now. Please take good care of your siblings, and may God be with you.
Amen.
The next day, I went to my mother's grave and promised her that I would find justice for her death.
I swear on my last breath that I will not rest until your death is avenged.
And with a heavy heart, I traced my feet back to the house with the belief that, in the chest of a woman isn't just a breast and a feeble heart, but the power to rule and possesses. My mother was everything to us. She was the foundation of our lives, our source of inspiration, and the pillar that always stood strong for us. Through all our hardships, she was there, enduring every storm, just to make life easier for my siblings and me. So, the thought of losing her to death was something I couldn't bring myself to accept. Every day, I felt her presence, always pushing me to keep going. And deep inside my heart, I knew she was still with us, guiding every step we made. It had already been a week since we returned to the city. We were hoping to see our father when we got back, but we were disappointed. When we got in, at first, it wasn't so hard for us to manage things. But as the weeks went by, we started to feel the weight of the challenges ahead of us. And with no one to turn to except our grandmother, our father's mother, we decided to go to her and share our problems. So, one Friday after school, my siblings and I went to her house. I wasn't expecting anything positive from her, because she had told me countless times to my face that we were a burden to her, and she wished we'd just disappear into the thin air, and never return again. But the hardship had become unbearable and too heavy to carry, and we had no choice but to ask for her help, even though we didn't expect much. My mother's mother was very poor. She was a struggling woman fighting to make ends meet for herself, so asking her for help felt like putting more weight on an already burdened woman. And that is why the thought of going back to stay with her in the village was not something I really bargained for. However, when we arrived at Grandma's house, our father's mother, I was given the most surprising moment of my life, as we were treated like strangers looking for a place to stay. The worst part was that she served us leftover food to eat. To say I was shocked that our own grandmother would treat us like this would be an understatement. I was so stunned that I couldn't even speak for a moment, and I just stared at the food, before reluctantly eating. My siblings could no longer hold back their hunger. So as soon as they saw the food, they attacked it like starving animals. And within a few seconds, they were done. I let them eat because they were just kids, and I could feel their pain. I just sat beside them, as they devoured their meal. After they finished, I took the plate to the kitchen. Just as I was about to turn my back, Grandma slapped me across the face with such force that I fell onto the ground.
How dare you leave the plate there without cleaning it? Who do you think you are? Pick up that plate and wash it before I slap you again.
I quickly turned and washed the plate as she demanded. As I washed, I cried like a child, unable to believe that my own grandmother could treat us this way. It was hard to accept, but sadly, it was the reality we were facing, and there was nothing we could do. We were helpless, and we just have to act and do whatever she says, because we are the ones at the receiving point. The maltreatment and bullying were becoming unbearable, so we decided to go and live with our maternal grandmother in the village. We couldn't focus on school, and at times, we went to bed hungry, so the best option was to live to the village. Worst of it was that, no one was willing to help us, not even people my mother called friends, and we were left to suffer on our own. It was so disheartening and devastating. It was a hard decision for me to make, but going back to the village seemed like the only choice we had. So, on a hot Friday after school, we packed our things, and made the journey to our maternal grandmother's house in the village. Grandma wasn't expecting us in the village, and we didn't even inform her that we were coming, but there was nothing she could do. after all, it had already happened, and she couldn't send us back either, so with open arms, she welcomed us with a smile. One thing I noticed about our grandmother was that, despite all the hardships we faced, she never let anyone know that we were suffering. She always wore a smile, encouraging us to be strong, and trust in God. She was an incredible woman who faced every challenge head-on, no matter how difficult it was. She was brave, and I truly admired her strength and unwavering spirit. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, our struggles only grew. Finding food became a challenge, and even having clothes to wear was becoming harder. We became the subject of ridicule in the village, with both the young and old mocking us. But what they didn't know was that, the more they ridiculed us, the stronger and more determined we became. They didn't know what we were made of, nor did they realize we were on a mission to overcome. The teasing and exclusion continued, until one evening, I told Grandma that I had to go back to the city, and find some work to take care of her and my siblings.
Grandma, I think it's time I step up and become the breadwinner for this household. I can't stand the suffering anymore, and I can't be pretending as if everything is fine.
Don't worry, my daughter. Everything will be fine, okay? Just take heart and trust in God.
Until when, Mama? Until when? Look, Mama, we've endured enough, and it is time to take action. We can't keep going on like this. Look at us. What to eat is becoming a problem, and my siblings need to go back to school. We can't just sit here and wait for things to get better. Mama, God doesn't help the lazy, and I know He won't help us if we don't do something for ourselves.
So, after much persuasion and pleadings, Grandma finally agreed to my decision. I had plans in mind, and I couldn't wait to return to the city to set them into motion. The night before I left, I spent a lot of time at my mother's grave, telling her all my plans for the family, and promising her I would never disappoint her.
Mom, I'm about to start my first journey into the world. I pray God guide me and protect me through all the challenges ahead. I know God can hear me, and I know He will always be with me. This isn't just any ordinary journey I'm about to embark on, so I need to go close to God, so His mercy and protection won't be far from me. Mother, I promise to always make you proud.
A cool breeze swept over me as I lay on her grave, crying and pouring my heart out. I felt a renewed strength, and I quickly stood up, went into my room, and continued to think about our future. I really don't know what happened. But when I got to the city, I saw some strangers occupying our house. They packed our belongings out, as they were resetting things in the room. I got confused and perplexed at once, not knowing what to do exactly. After what seems like eternity, I mastered courage and got closer to one woman who was busy washing outside.
Good morning, ma'am. Please, what are you people doing in our house?
We are the new tenants in this apartment. We just moved in here last night, and as you can see, we are arranging and putting things in order.
What? New tenants? In my own house? Who rented the house for you?
Mrs. Nora.
Before she could ask me any question, I quickly turned my back, and with the speed of light, I headed straight to the house of my grandmother with anger and frustration all over my face.
How dare you rent our house without my knowledge, Grandma?
You must be very stupid for asking me such a silly question. Who are you to question my decision? And how dare you talk to me in such a manner?
Mama, with due respect, you and I know that house was built by my parents, and that is the only assert we could call our own, and now, you have the effrontery and temerity to rescind it without my approval. This is so bad, Mama, and it is uncalled for.
For your information, young lady, that house belongs to my son, and I have the right to do whatever I want with it, and no one can do anything about it. Not even you.
This same house in question belongs to my parents, and as the first child, I have every right over it, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing that you can do to stop me from claiming what belongs to me.
Listen, Zoe. It is better you back off now to save your little energy and strength to do something meaningful in your life, than struggling and fighting a battle you and I know so well that you can never win, even not in your wildest imagination, or in the next 1,000 years to come.
Nora, whatever you call yourself, let this sound like a warning to you. Do not dare me. Do not ever try pushing me to the walls, because I bounced back. You won't be able to withstand my roar in return.
I said with so much power that she got irritated and scared at once. Just when I was about to turn my back and leave her presence, she angrily got hold of my hand, and was about to slap me when I held her hand in the air, and push it down.
You have no idea who you are, daring young woman. I am not like my mother, that I will allow you turn me into your poodle, and start controlling me as your slave. Never. Not again, and in case you have forgotten, my name is Zoe, not Flora. Let this be your last time you dare lift your filthy hand on me.
As I walked out on her, I could sense some kind of fear emanating from her eyes, as it was evident in the way she was shivering and sweating. I know she was very shocked to see me responding to her in that manner, and I was glad I did it just like that. I had had enough of her buffoon lifestyle of treating us like strangers in our own house, and it was time we stand for our rights, and what belongs to us. Immediately I left her house, I went straight to my mother's lawyer's house for all the house documents. I was willing to take legal actions against my paternal grandmother, and get back our house. But however, I was greeted with the worst news of the day. I couldn't believe my ears when Mr. Tobias stated that there was nothing he could do to help me out.
Mr. Tobias, please, you have to do something about this whole saga, please. You are my last hope, and there is nothing I could do without your help.
You see, Zoe, things don't work the way you think. It will just be a waste of time fighting your grandmother with no weapon. She is fortified with all the necessary evidences, and I can assure you that she will win the case if you proceed in taking legal actions against her.
But I thought my mum gave all the house documents to you.
Your father came for them a few months before the death of your mother.
What? Why did you give it to him? Huh, why didn't you ask my mother before giving it out to him?
Actually, I did. I asked your mother, and she gave me the go-ahead to give it to him.
Oh Jesus. How could you do this to us, Mum? Now look at how we have been trapped in a pit that only God knows when we will eventually come out, all because of your actions.
It's okay, Zoe, my dear, all will be fine.
I don't even know when I dozed off on the sofa. But when I woke up, I saw myself on a very soft bed. I was surprised as to how I could sleep to the extent that I was been carried and I never knew about it. And just when I was about to step out of the room, Mr. Tobias came into the room with a plate of jollof rice in his hand.
You are already awake. I prepared something for you to eat. I know you will be hungry, so please take it.
I gladly accepted it and started eating it immediately. I really enjoyed it so much. That was the best meal I could say I had for the past few months. Mr. Tobias wasn't married, so he asked me to stay in his house as long as I want, until I have been able to get myself a new apartment. I was so happy when he gave me that chance, and words alone can't explain how happy I was. I clean the house, cook his food, and wash his clothes for him. He sometimes gives me money, which from the beginning I rejected. But when I realized I needed the money after all, I started collecting it gladly. But however, as days passed, Mr. Tobias began acting so strange and wired, to the extent that I began feeling uncomfortable staying with him in his house. He barges into my room unannounced, and at times into my bathroom while I'm taking my bath. This became consistent until one evening when the worst happened.
Mr. Tobias, please, what are you doing in my room? Please, kindly go out, please. As you can see, I'm still undressed.
Wow, you have a very nice skin, and crazy curves, Zoe. Why haven't I noticed this all this while?
The more he looked at me, the more uncomfortable I became. He wasn't heeding at all to what I was saying. He was just getting closer and closer to me, until the gap between us became so slim. Before I could utter a word, he planted a kiss on my lips. I forced to push him away, but I couldn't, because my strength couldn't match his own. He ended up overpowering me, and try making his way into me. I struggled with him, but his strength was unmatchable. I tried pushing him, but I wasn't able to do so. I cried to him to let go of me, but he was passionate and mean towards what he wanted to. After passionately kissing me for some time, he tried pulling the clothes I was using to cover my body. I resisted, but he insisted. I struggled with him for some time, and from nowhere, some force entered me, and I pushed him so hard that he used his head to hit the bed, and he began to roar like an angry lion. Immediately, I stood up and quickly ran to the door to open it. But to my disappointment, he had already locked the door and kept the keys in his pocket. Once again, I became helpless, vulnerable and trapped. I started panting, as I watched him getting closer to me with an evil smile.
Please don't do anything to me, please. Don't take advantage of my condition and defile me, please. I am like a daughter to you, sir.
I pleaded with my eyes red, from my continuous weeping. But no amount of my begging and cries could change Mr. Tobias' mind, as it was obvious he was mean to do the evil he wanted to do with me, and no amount of persuasions could change his mind. As he got closer and nearer to me, I became more scared than ever. Immediately, he lifted me from the floor and threw me on the bed. I cried and cried to him to let go of me, but he refused. I struggled with him, but he overpowered me with his strength. I became restless and dejected. As he was about to untie his trousers and have his way into me, I forced myself out, and hit his balls so hard that he began to shout like a child. Immediately, I seized the opportunity to save myself. I dug my hands into his pockets and got hold of the keys, and with the speed of light, I ran to the door and opened it. I didn't even waste a minute before escaping out of the house. With just a towel covering my body, I ran out of the house without minding anything. Immediately I got out from the house and was about to cross the road, I was heavily knocked down by a speedy car. The lady in the car quickly rushed me to the hospital, before something bad happens to me. I was rushed to the operation room for treatment to commence immediately, because I've already lost a lot of blood. God being so good to me, I survived the accident, and spent 2 weeks in the hospital, before I was discharged. The lady whose car knocked me down paid all the bills. She didn't only pay all bills, she took very good care of me while in the hospital, and I really appreciate her unwavering commitment and endless love towards me.
So what was chasing you, before you ran into the road and almost got killed?
It is a long story, ma'am.
I have all the time in the world to listen to your story.
So after settling down properly, I told her all that has happened, from when my mum died, to what our paternal grandmother did to us, to how Mr. Tobias tried taking advantage of me in his house. I told her every single thing I could remember, leaving no stone unturned.
This is so sad, Zoe. But don't worry, I'm here for you, okay, so don't worry.
So this was how I met Miss Nicole, the philanthropist. She was so helpful to my family and I never take it for granted. She gave me everything that I want, and gradually, life was becoming stable for us. I send money to Grandma in the village regularly, and my siblings began schooling once again. I was about to enter the senior high school when my mother died. So after her death, I have no idea how to get back to school. In everything I do, my siblings come first, and I was willing to do anything for them. However, Mr. Tobias was arrested for attempted rape after the police heard about the news. Meanwhile, Miss Nicole opened her door for me to enter. She welcomed me with great heart, and I fell in love with her home. I was really moved by her kind gesture, and I never ceased thanking and appreciating her. But there was something strange about Miss Nicole. I noticed she has neither family members, nor a friend, and this kept disturbing me. She hardly goes out from the house, always indoor. I clean the house, cooked food for her, and do all manner of domestic works in the house. I enjoyed doing them a lot. But there was this particular room in the house, that she told me never to enter no matter what happens. At first, I didn't really take it seriously, as I minded only my business in the house, avoiding the door to that room like a plague. But as time goes on, I began to feel uncomfortable with how things were happening in the house. The strange noises that emanates from the room at night really scares the hell out of me most at times. The worst part is that, this particular door was never locked. And I know one day I will be tempted to open it to find out what exactly was in the room. But until that day, I was ever ready to withstand whatever that might be in that room. Gradually, days matured into weeks, weeks into months as I lived my life with Miss Nicole. She was like a second mother to me, kind to me in love, and showing affections I never knew existed. She gave me money regularly, of which I have been sending some to Grandma and my siblings in the village. But there was this irritating feeling in my mind that was bothering me about the room she had vehemently banned me from entering, no matter what happened. Behind that door, I would hear strange noises every night, whispers now and then, soft smashes, as if heavy objects had been gotten rid of. I wanted to subdue the notion and forget about it, yet the curiosity distressed me, jerking on my thoughts even as I cleaned and cooked for Miss Nicole, whose growing reclusiveness was irritating. There was one night, after I had finished cleaning up after dinner, that I found myself alone in the house. Miss Nicole had gone out, which was uncommon. She had mentioned something about visiting a friend, yet I hadn't seen her speak to anyone in weeks, so I was utterly surprised by her sudden departure. The house was still uncannily still. None of that gentle vibration of life was around me, and the weight of silence seemed to weigh me down. I looked in the direction of the outlawed room, which Miss Nicole had forbidden me from ever opening, and the door standing ajar almost like an invitation. I stood there for a moment, my heart racing. The temptation was too excessive and too heavy to accommodate, and I just had to know what lay behind that door. The weird noises, her never talking about it just didn't feel right. I walked forward toward the door, trying not to make one sound. My hand shook a little, as it reached for the doorknob. I was just about to turn it, but my hand stopped midway. My breathing caught in my throat, a shiver running down my spine. Was this a mistake? Would I regret it? I was frozen, fighting with myself for some seconds. But then I turned the knob finally. The creaking sound echoed as the door slowly swung open, and I stepped inside. The room was not so well lit, and only one lamp in the corner gave any indication of light. I narrowed my eyes into the softness of the room, and looked in the surroundings slowly. The air felt thick, like it would choke me. Covering the walls were old, dusty bookshelves filled with books I did not recognize. The smell in the room was musty, as though nobody had entered it in years. But then my eyes fell upon something in the middle of the room, a large wooden box. It was old, weathered, and covered in dust. My heart crushed in my chest as I walked towards it, pinched it as though it had some kind of magnetic pull. My mind raced with possibilities of what could be inside. With trembled hands, I reached for the box's cover, and slowly raised it. Inside, there was nothing. At least, I thought so. I blinked, trying to adjust my eyes against the low light. Then I saw it, a small velvet item settled at the bottom of the box. I reached in carefully and retrieved it, my fingers trembling. It was surprisingly light. The box was fragile, with sophisticated designs imprinted into its surface. I had this weird feeling of déjà vu, as if I had seen this box somewhere before, yet couldn't really place it. As I opened the box, a cold wave of fear flushed over me. Inside, there was a beautiful golden necklace with a suspended design as some kind of twisted plant. It was old, yet handsome in its own right. The pendant sparkled in the poor light, as if alive. I heard a voice inside my mind saying this necklace is bad news. I tried to pay no attention. Without knowing why, I wanted it, and I felt like it belonged to me. Suddenly, I heard a noise, a soft creak from behind me. My heart skipped a beat, and I revolved around. Miss Nicole stood in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes wide with shock.
What are you doing in here?
I didn't mean to.
That necklace, it should have been destroyed long ago.
What are you talking about?
That necklace, it holds a history, a dark history. It is cursed, Zoe. Whoever will wear it is doomed.
What curse? How, Miss Nicole?
You don't understand. I was trying to protect you. I never wanted you to find it. But now that you have. Zoe, the truth is, the necklace is a very powerful artifact. It does have the power to enslave people. It feeds on fear, darkness, and pain, for it has the ability to twist a person's mind and make them do what they never did before. I have kept it well hidden all these years. I thought I could lock it away forever, but I see now that I was wrong. I should have destroyed it. The necklace is cursed, Zoe. It can control anyone who wears it, turning them into something they're not. And I'm afraid it's too late for me.
What do you mean? You're not making sense.
All of a sudden, Miss Nicole collapsed in a chair, her face going into her hands.
Zoe, for years I had been wearing this. It was the reason for my lack of friends and no family. Reasons I stay always in this house, isolated. The necklace took over me bit by bit. It has made me turn everyone away, and do things which I regretted doing. You have to get rid of it, Zoe. Destroy it, please.
But before I could answer, the room seemed to dim, and the air thickened. The pendant on the necklace started to glow, and I could feel it getting stronger with every breath. I turned to Miss Nicole, who was now trembling with fear.
It's too late. It's begun.
I knew that the curse of the necklace had begun to take hold of me, as it began taking charge of my body, and now trapped, I don't know whether I should destroy it, or let it destroy me. It has already been a month when I discovered the mystery box in the hidden chamber of Miss Nicole. It was a forbidden risk I took, and due to my curiosity to find out what was in the room, I brought onto myself a load bigger than I could ever carry. I was trapped, and there was no way out. The secret of the box is yet to be known, but before it explodes, I have 7 more days to appease the box in a form of sacrifice. But unfortunately, we were born into a Christian home, and I have no idea how I could go about it. The pressure was becoming more intensive that I couldn't think straight. There must be definitely a way out of this trap, but it seems bare and far to reach. There was only one way out, and that is, I have to go to the village and seek the help of my grandmother. She was so passionate about the traditions of our people, and I know she will gladly help me escape the darkness that was about to take dominance over me. With just 6 days left to accomplish the mission, I journeyed to the village to see Grandma. Upon reaching the village, I met the biggest shock of my life. I was told Grandma was hospitalized in the hospital for almost a week.
Why haven't you called me Angel? We tried calling you countless times, sister, but your number was not reachable.
Without wasting much time, we rushed to the hospital where Grandma was admitted. And lo and behold, Grandma was in a critical condition. I cried when I saw her in that condition. I regretted ever leaving her in such a condition the time she needed me the most. Without hesitation, I paid all her bills to commence treatments on her. In less than 24 hours, the treatments were done. I was so glad to see her smile, although she was weak.
I'm so sorry, Grandma, for abandoning you in this critical moments of your life. I am truly sorry.
Don't worry, my daughter. I hold nothing against you, and I know this was not intentional. I'm fine already. Once we get home, we can settle the reason why you came back to the village.
Grandma, how did you know the reason why I came back to the village?
While I was in coma, the Spirit of God spoke to me, and told me everything that you have been going through in that mansion. It said I should help you find your way out of the darkness about to consume you.
Words alone can't express how emotional I was when Grandma revealed that to me. I laid my head on her shoulder, and wept like a baby, until my emotions took hold of me. With 2 days already spent, and with 5 days left, we ventured into the unknown. It all happened like a magic, and up to today, it still appears to me like a dream. Grandma recovered so fast to the amazement of even the doctors. She became more energetic and strong for the task ahead. And with our heads up and shoulders solid, we ventured into the unknown. Through the course of our findings, however, we got to know that the only way I could separate myself from the mysterious box was to burn it and bury the ashes. It sounded to me like a stress-free task, but that was far from accomplishing. Unfortunately, the day we got to the city to fetch the box and burn it as required, we were flabbergasted at what we saw. Upon reaching the neighborhood, we saw a lot of people shouting, and fetching water to quench a fire outbreak emanating from Miss Nicole's mansion. My heart started beating so fast, as if it wanted to escape from my chest. The beatings were so loud that, I thought others around could be hearing it. I became confused and speechless at once, not knowing what to do exactly. But all of a sudden, I don't know where I got the courage from, I stood up as if I have been possessed. And before Grandma could get hold of my hand to prevent me from entering the house, I was already at the entrance. People started shouting and calling on me to stop what I was doing, but I was already in the room. With my life at risk, I took the challenge of doing the unimaginable. Inside the halls of the mansion, I traced my path to the room where the box was kept. With trembling hands, I opened the door and went straight to the exact location where the box was kept. I took hold of it quickly and dashed out of the room. With everything in the room burnt, I walked quickly to go out of the room before it finally collapsed. The heat was so intensive that, immediately I came out of the hall to the entrance, I collapsed on the floor, and my sight went blur. The only thing I could hear was noises and screaming from the people gathered outside. I was quickly rescued by the people around, and sent to the hospital. After spending a day in the hospital, I was finally discharged, and we left to the village to start the prayer. It was a very hectic assignment for me in particular, but with Grandma at my side, I stood up when I fell, and encouraged myself to keep moving forward. At long last, the battle has ended. The box was burnt after praying over it, and the ashes were buried as demand. My past has been buried, and a new chapter of my life began unfolding. With the death of my mother at the back of my mind, I was eager to fight till the end, and not even the devil himself can stop me. Fortified with the blessings of my grandmother, I took a different path to fight for justice, and liberate my family from the shackles of oppression and societal ridicule. One evening while we were done eating our evening food, Grandma suggested I should go and stay with one of our family members in the city. According to her, the woman who she said was my auntie, was a very nice woman, and she will definitely take good care of me. Initially, I disagreed with Grandma on her suggestion, because the woman in question was not someone I knew from the beginning, and I just saw her once, and that was during my mother's funeral. But after many discussions and persuasions, I finally agreed to Grandma's submission to go and stay with her. After all, I can't be staying in the village doing nothing. Finally, I took the bold step and walked on Grandma's talk. With her blessings with me, I started a new journey into the unknown. True to my grandmother's words, Auntie Vicki was like a lovely mother to me. She made sure I felt comfortable in the house. And everything I needed was provided for me. She even promised to enroll me in a fashion designing school, where I can be equipped with some handicraft. Auntie Vicki was a very busy woman. She owned one of the biggest supermarkets in the city, which keeps her away from home almost all the time. And due to this, she hardly stay at home to take care of her family. She was married with 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Her husband was a lecturer in one of the public universities in the city. Her son Barry, who was older than me with a year, just completed high school, waiting for his admission into college, while her daughter Susanna, just 5 years old, attends one of the private schools in the neighborhood. My auntie was so happy when I finally decided to come and stay with them. The reason for her excitement was that I will be taking care of her little daughter and doing some domestic chores in the house to elevate some stress on her. Nonetheless, in the few weeks of my stay in my auntie's house, I have realized some slight changes in her husband's attitude towards me. The way he stares at me in the house sometimes makes me feel uncomfortable. My auntie hardly stay at home, and her son normally help her in the market more often. And anytime I'm done sending Susanna to school, I spend most of my time watching Christian movies or reading Bible. But however, in the few weeks that followed my stay in the house, my auntie's husband was making the house uncomfortable and more toxic for me to stay. Even though he was not mounting any pressure, or saying something to me, his actions were obviously doing the talking on his behalf. There was no way I was going to sleep with my auntie's husband, that will be akin to stabbing her at the back. My auntie loves me so much, and I can't afford bringing pains into her life, and eventually scattering her marriage. No matter how hard I tried to avoid him, the closer he comes. I don't want to tell my auntie about it, because I don't really know whether she will believe me or not.
Uncle Justin's, please, this isn't right, and you know it very well. Please leave me alone. I don't want to have any problem with my auntie, please.
Don't worry about that, Zoe. There is no way she will find out if you don't tell her, which I know you will never do.
But still, it won't be morally right if we do this. It is a sin against God and humanity. And moreover, if I choose to do this someday, it will definitely not with my auntie's husband.
Truth be told, my auntie's husband was very handsome and classic, a man that every woman will fight to capture his heart. I began falling in love with him gradually, and deep down my heart, I know I was doing the wrong thing, because falling in love with him at the first place was a slap on my auntie's face, and a betrayal to the bond we shared together. But however, I tried as much as I can to bottle the feelings I have for him, because I knew that wasn't right. What made the situation worst, however, was how both of us stay in the house all alone when everyone was not around. The pressure was becoming more intensive and massive that he nearly got me one hot afternoon. His charm was irresistible. His stature was one of such hot statures that could get every girl crazy. And it took only the mercy of God for me to escape his trap that day. I don't know what he saw in me, but I was certain he just wanted to sleep with me and take away my pride. But I was never ready to go that extent because, seeing my own auntie, a woman who welcomed me into her home with love and compassion, crying because of me, will definitely be the last thing I will ever do. Days passed, but Mr. Justins was so determined to do whatever he wanted to do. I was as well stubborn to give him a chance when I realized his bad intentions towards me. The pressure became unbearable that I started signaling him to stop or else I will report him to his wife. He laughed so hard at my threat that his wife will never believe me, and she might end up throwing me out of her house. He was, however, right. There was no way my auntie will believe me. I became helpless even to my own self. I was torn between two tough decisions, my life, and my auntie's marriage. Meanwhile, Barry has spotted Mr. Justins and I on countless times in the house, when we thought no one was watching. But for what reason he hasn't opened up with it this far, was something I was still finding so difficult to understand. Did he really see us and pretended not to have noticed anything? Or he was just been mindful of his actions? But until he takes any action, I was ready to do anything possible not to break my auntie's heart, and make her happy always. And that might perhaps be the reason for Barry's silence all this while. He can't just afford seeing his parents separated, and neither was I planning to destroy a happy home. But one day while I was in the kitchen preparing our dinner, Barry walked up to me with worries on his face. He came to stand beside me, but I ignored him, because he was not saying anything, as I continued with my cooking.
I know what is going on between you and my dad.
I know, and I was wondering why you haven't said anything about it to your mother.
Never will I tell my mother about this. I can't afford seeing my parents separated. I don't want to suffer the consequences of my father's actions. Do not give my father any chance to have his way with you. He has no good intentions for you. He will just use you, and at the end dump you. He is my father, and I know him more than you do. There is so much about this man that you can't even imagine. He is the devil himself, and I just wish my mother doesn't find out all the evil things he has been doing with his students.
What do you mean, Barry?
Just when Barry was about to reply me, the door opened at once, and the devil himself walked in, looking at us suspiciously.
What are you people up to? Nothing, sir. I'm just trying to help Zoe prepare tonight's meal. Since when have you become Zoe's assistants in the kitchen? Huh, I don't understand, Dad. What are you trying to instigate?
Please, Mr. Justins, Barry is just trying to help me out today, because I'm little exhausted. Please forgive us, if this isn't a right thing to be done.
Without saying anything, he walked out of the kitchen angrily, banging the door behind. Happy about how things finally turned out, I asked Barry to leave the kitchen to prevent further misunderstanding between his father and him, but he blatantly refused to go, stating that there was nothing his father can do. Actually, he was right, there was nothing his father could possibly do, he was just jealous of his son. But how could he be jealous of me? I thought aloud, laughing to myself. Mr. Justins is simply a funny man indeed, I thought aloud, smiling to myself. So, I finally gave up when it was obvious Barry has made up his mind. And both of us ended up preparing the meal together, and there was some kind of sensation that came in between the two of us. I couldn't push the feeling that I liked him, and it was obvious he also liked me, looking at how he was staring at me, and how he defended me when his father tried intimidating me.
Why did you do that?
What?
Why did you defend me in front of your father?
Because you needed to be defended, as it was obvious you couldn't find your voice to speak up for yourself. See Zoe, I know my father. I've seen this pattern before. You're not the first girl he's tried this with. He uses his position, his authority, his power, but Zoe, you can't fall for it. I had to speak up before it's too late. This is more than just a family issue. This is spiritual warfare. This is about your soul. This is about your purity.
I'm tired of your father, honestly, he won't give me breathing space.
No, don't get tired. And that's exactly why I'm warning you. Zoe, listen to me, this is not just wrong morally. This is sin, and not just any sin, this is the kind that leaves a permanent scar if you don't run. My father is walking in darkness. Don't let him drag you with him. Proverbs 6:32-33 says, "Whoever commits adultery with a woman lacks understanding, he who does so destroys his own soul. Wounds and dishonor he will get, and his reproach will not be wiped away." That applies to both the man and the woman involved. It's not just about shame, it's about destruction. That man is trying to destroy you, Zoe.
But he's your father.
And I love him, but I will not stand by and let him send another innocent soul to the pit. I'd rather be hated by him for speaking truth, than be silent and let you perish spiritually. Romans 6:13 says, "Do not present your members to sin as instruments for unrighteousness, but present yourselves to God as those who have been brought from death to life." You're not an object, Zoe. You're a vessel of God. Don't let the devil steal that identity from you. My father is walking in lust. But you, Zoe, you have a choice. Don't open that door. Don't stay alone with him. Don't give him space to whisper lies into your ears. He'll tell you things like, "You're special, I'll take care of you, it's just between us." But it's a trap. 1 Peter 5:8 says, "Be sober-minded, be watchful." Your adversary the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour.
I don't want to be devoured.
Then stay close to God. Run from anything that even smells like sin. 1 Corinthians 6:18 says, "Flee sexual immorality." Every sin that a man does, is outside the body, but he who commits sexual immorality sins against his own body. Don't stay in the same room with him. Don't trust his smile. Don't trust his gifts. You are not for sale. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You belong to God, not to him, not to lust, not to shame. 2 Corinthians 6:17 says, "Therefore come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. Do not touch what is unclean, and I will receive you."
Thank you, Barry. Thank you for seeing me, for protecting me. I needed this more than I even knew.
Promise me, Zoe, no matter what he offers, no matter how he tries, you'll remember who you are in Christ. You're not weak. You're a daughter of the King. And no weapon formed against you shall prosper.
Amen.
The days that followed were quiet, cozy and comfortable for me. The holidays were over, and Mr. Justins has gone back to work. He leaves the house early in the morning, and comes back late in the evening, and this new development however made me forget about all the stress he took me through, as I was beginning to believe that he has finally given up on his attempt to sleep with me. Meanwhile, Barry and I have become more closer to each other than ever, as we began sharing secret and our problems together. Just when I thought there was no one to stand by me, he offered to me his shoulders to lean my head on, and I will forever be grateful for his kind gesture. Mr. Justins was still plotting some plans to attack me, and that was when it dawned on me that he was mean to destroy me. According to him, no girl has ever rejected him like how I did. And this has caused him a lot of pain and embarrassment, and he will definitely find his way into my legs irrespective of what it may entail. One day while at home alone with Auntie Vicki, Mr. Justins called her on the phone. I was in the kitchen, while she was sitting in the living room watching a movie when the call came in. From where I was standing, I could barely hear what they were saying, but I was sure what they were saying was something very important. Immediately after he dropped the call, my auntie called me.
Please, my husband left some files in the house, and he needed them now, and he requested you bring them to him right now. He is having a very important meeting at Royal Mosquito Hotel. It is on Johnson Street, opposite the Presby School. When you get there, call him to come for it. This phone will be yours henceforth. My contact, Barry's, and my husband's contacts are on it.
I gladly took it and left immediately. Haven't known the reason why Mr. Justins requested that I should be the one to bring the documents to him in the hotel. I knew there was a twist somewhere. Obviously, he was about to hatch his dreadful agenda. I began thinking of how I could escape this trap. In less than an hour, I was at the designated area Mr. Justins asked me to come. I quickly checked the phone book and dialed his number.
Hello Mr. Justins, please I'm at the reception.
All right, baby girl.
Zoe, right?
Yes please.
All right, follow me.
I quietly walked as I followed her swiftly with thoughts running through my mind. Truth be told, I was very scared when I was going, because the Justins I know has proven to me beyond all reasonable doubt that he gets whatever he wants, and no one can ever detain him. But I was also very confident to sail through, despite the fears that had already taken charge of me. When we were about to reach, the lady told me to climb up to the last floor, and look for room 419, and I will meet Mr. Justins. With shaking legs, I managed to climb, until I got to the last floor. One by one, I finally found the room where Mr. Justins was, and with tremblingly hands, I knocked gently on the door. In less than a minute, the door opened. I began to pray silently, asking God for his protection. But to my greatest surprise, it was Barry who opened the door for me. All of a sudden, my fears began to melt as I began to smile. My help has finally come. In the room was the devil himself sitting in a chair, adjacent to the bed, with a frown and bitterness in his face. We all sat down looking into each other's face in silence, not knowing what to say. With the way Mr. Justins was looking at me, I know he was very hurt, because of how I ruined his delicate plans. I know the efforts he put in those plans. Before I finally jeopardized it for him, I could feel his pains. Meanwhile, when I was leaving the house after Auntie Vicki gave me the phone, I quickly texted Barry and gist him about what was happening. He requested I give him the address of where his father said I should meet him, which I did gladly. So before I could get there, he was already there, and went ahead of me to get to the room, before I did. However, I thought he would stay behind and watched as things will unfold, before he could take any action. But it was obvious he was a step ahead of how I thought things should go.
For the last time, Barry. What are you doing here? For the last time, Dad. Why did you ask Zoe to meet you in a hotel room? Of all places, you chose a hotel room. Why, Dad?
But before Barry could say another word, a thunderous slap landed on his face. My heart skipped a beat immediately when Barry was slapped by his father, and I began to cry.
How dare you talk to me in such an awful and disrespectful manner? Who gave you the effrontery and the temerity to talk back at me? Of what value will it be if you sleep with Zoe, Dad? This is a girl who took you as a father, and what you intend to is to go between her legs. Huh. Shame on you, Dad, for trying so hard to sleep with your own daughter. I know every single thing that you have been doing to your students. I know about your secret affair with one level 400 students in your school, whose name is Judith. I know about your plans of marrying her as your second wife, after discovering that she is pregnant with your child. And as if that was not enough, You are the one sponsoring her education, taking care of her family, and you even sent her brother abroad to go and study. How could you do this, Dad? How could you be this heartless?
At this point, Mr. Justins just opened his mouth in total amusement, as he couldn't believe what he was hearing. As a matter of fact, I was more surprised than Mr. Justins himself. How could he stab his wife at the back like that, a woman who loved and trusted him with her everything? Some men are indeed wicked. The silence that followed Mr. Justin's last words was too intense to endure. The room tension was palpable, as if the air itself was thick, becoming hard to breathe in. My heart raced in my chest, the boom of each beat resonating in my ears. I stood there, totally mesmerized, as father and son stood facing one another, both of them seemingly in a tug of war over their fate. Barry didn't wink. His pose was resolute, unshakable. He was no longer the young, scared kid who'd been kept in his father's grip. No, today was a different day. Today, Barry was fighting to bring about more than his own liberty. He was fighting for justice, for the truth to be brought to light. Mr. Justin, though, seemed like a man at his wit's end. The condescension he had shown heretofore had disappeared, replaced by a look of growing frustration. His fists were in bunched fists at his sides, his eyes shifting back and forth between Barry and me, as if measuring what to do next.
Still don't get it, don't you? It's not a matter of lying and secrets, Barry. This is about control. Control you can never take from me. It's over, Dad. All the lying, all the manipulating, over. You're not going to get away with it any longer. Do you expect anybody to believe you? You've ruined your reputation as it is, for taking up with a girl like this. I've got evidence, and I'll expose everything. The truth always finds a way to surface, even if it takes time. You think your small threats will frighten me. You think that you can escape this unharmed. You don't even know the person you are really dealing with.
I held my breath as the air between them crackled with tension. Was this really the end? Would Barry be able to bring his father to justice? But then, in a flash of movement, Barry made a decision. Without warning, he pulled his phone from his pocket, holding it up for his father to see.
I've recorded everything, every conversation, every threat you've made, and I've sent it to a trusted few. They're on their way. You think they'll just take your side? You think anyone cares about your petty little recording? You'll be nothing, Barry. You'll be forgotten. And when I'm done with you, I don't care if you think you'll be forgotten. The truth won't. You'll be the one they remember for all the wrong reasons.
There was a long pause, and in that silence, something shifted. Mr. Justin's anger seemed to reach its boiling point, but at the same time, he seemed to understand that his power was slipping away. For a brief moment, he seemed to deflate, like a balloon losing air. And then, out of the blue, he rushed at the door.
You'll regret this. You think you've won. You haven't heard the last of me.
Barry stood tall, watching as his father stepped back. His fists remained balled at his sides, but whatever tempest cloud had formed inside him now seemed to have passed. It was as if in this moment, he had finally escaped the grip his father had maintained on him all those years. As Mr. Justin went out, the silence in the room was so deep that it felt like a physical energy. I had no idea what to say, how to comprehend everything that had just happened. But Barry dispelled the silence.
Do you think he'll come back?
I don't know, but I'm ready for whatever comes next. He can't keep doing this to innocent girls. I won't allow it anymore.
The next few days were filled with the aftermath of our confrontation. We both knew that it wasn't over, not by a long shot. Mr. Justin had left in anger, but we weren't naive enough to think that was the end of his scheming. He had already proven that he would stop at nothing to protect his empire of lies and manipulation. But Barry's resolve hadn't faltered. If anything, the truth he had uncovered about his father's crimes had only solidified his determination to end the cycle of deceit and destruction. I could see how much it had weighed on him, the years of fear, the silence he had endured, but now there was clarity in his eyes. He was ready to face whatever came next.
I'm going to make sure this doesn't end in vain. My father is not just some angry, bitter man. He's dangerous, but I'm done being scared of him. And I'm done hiding.
In the days that followed, we set our plan in motion. With the evidence Barry had gathered, the recordings, the hidden documents, the testimonies from people who had suffered at Mr. Justin's hands, we began building a case against him. We want to reveal to all the full extent of his crimes, the lives he had destroyed in his quest for power and control. And we were doing all these behind the blind side of Auntie Vicki, simply because we don't want her to be hurt, even though we are aware about the fact that she will definitely find out by the time Mr. Justin had been exposed to the world. We reached out to trusted contacts, people who could help us navigate the legal maze, and quietly made moves to ensure that the evidence would reach the right hands. The pieces were coming together, but the feeling of urgency never left us. The longer we waited, the more dangerous Mr. Justin became. And then, as if the universe had conspired to test our resolve, it happened. Late one night, the sound of breaking glass shattered the silence of our apartment. I bolted upright, heart hammering in my chest. Barry's instincts kicked in immediately. He was already halfway to the door when I grabbed his arm, stopping him.
It's him. He knows.
We need to get out of here. Now.
All this time, Auntie Vicki had traveled, and it was rather an appropriate time for us to play this game till the end. We didn't have time to grab much, just our phones, our documents, and a sense of urgency that pushed us to act faster than we ever had before. We moved quickly, but as we reached the door, we were met by the cold, menacing figure of Mr. Justin standing in the doorway.
Running won't save you. You really think you can take me down with a few recordings and documents? You think you can expose me and walk away untouched? I'm not running, Dad. You're the one who's going to pay for what you did. To my mother. To everyone you've ruined. You think you can win. You think anyone will believe you over me. I own this city. I own everything. You're wrong. It's over.
Before Mr. Justin could react, the sound of sirens filled the air. Our trusted contacts had made their move. The evidence we had compiled, along with the testimony from others who had suffered at Mr. Justin's hands, was now in the hands of the authorities. The game had changed. In a matter of moments, the police arrived, and Mr. Justin's world came crashing down. He tried to fight back, to twist the narrative in his favor, but it was too late. The weight of his crimes was too heavy, the evidence too damning. His empire, built on lies and blood, was crumbling around him. As he was taken away in handcuffs, his eyes locked onto Barry's. For a brief moment, there was no defiance in his gaze, only a raw, primal fear. Fear of the truth. Fear of being exposed for the monster he had always been.
I'll make you regret this. No, Dad, you won't. It's over.
The police led him away. I turned to Barry, my heart pounding with a mixture of relief and disbelief.
It's really over, isn't it?
Auntie Vicki has already heard about the arrest of her husband, because bloggers had widely shared the information on the internet. She came back immediately to ascertain the whole story. And lo and behold, the story was true. But to our utmost surprise, Auntie Vicki was not bordered at all about her husband's arrest, utmost to our anticipation. She made some revelations which shocked me to the marrow, and at the same time made me admire her level of strength and resilience to capacitate all those diabolic acts of her husband. According to her, she knew about all the atrocities cited by her husband Mr. Justin, just that, for the sake of her family and marriage, she decided to keep mute and act as if everything was all right. More astonishing was the fact that, she said she knew about all the advances made by Mr. Justin to lure me to bed. But because she trusted me so much, she made no attempt to salvage the situation. At this point, my heart melted, as tears began flowing down my cheeks, like a river flowing down from a valley. And I was glad I never betrayed her trust. Meanwhile, the day of prosecuting Mr. Justin finally came. With a full load of evidences against him, he was found guilty, and sentenced to 7 years imprisonment with hard labor. His certificate as a lecturer was terminated as well, which automatically made him jobless. Students from his school also testified heavily against him of how he forcefully slept with them, after threatening to fail them if they failed to comply with his diabolic wishes. Meanwhile, the Judith girl was just using him for her personal gain. According to what we heard, the brother of Judith who was sent to abroad to go and study, was actually not her brother, but her boyfriend instead. And the pregnancy saga was actually not true, she was never pregnant. At this juncture, Auntie Vicki broke down into tears, and I really understood her pains. She had really tolerated a lot from a man she called her husband. However, it was one of the testimonies raised by one guy that intrigued me the most. According to him, Mr. Justin forcefully slept with her girlfriend, and when he tried attacking him, he sent his boys after him, and they gave him the worst beating of his life, and it took him several days before he could recover from the undeserving pains. But when he tried raising the matter later, he was silenced. When asked who were the boys he sent after the young man, Mr. Justin gladly disclosed the identity of the people.
What? I hope this is not the same Oscar Julius I know.
Who is he? And how do you know him?
He is my father, the murderer of my mother.
What? Your dad murdered your mother? How? Why?
However, the court has ordered the arrest of the people sent by Mr. Justins to molest the young man. Armed with every necessary information about him, they made the arrest in just a jiffy. The day he was brought to the court, I made sure I was there. And true to my conscience, he was truly my father Oscar Julius. I was sure I was the least he expected to see that day. So when he saw me, he became shocked at once, but it was too late for him. He had met his final judgment. The moment I saw him, my heart began boiling with anger, as I could remember that very day he killed my mother in cold blood with his bare hands. It was however a doubled prosecution for him. He was charged of unlawfully molesting an innocent man without any justification, and the murder of his own wife. I testified heavily against him, and I was glad I finally found justice for my mother's death. With the days that followed, all the properties of my parents, which had been seized by my paternal grandmother, were retrieved, as she was charged to compensate us with a huge sum of money for depriving us of our rights.